Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Sana Kurimali, currently a proud level 1 batch 3 student at Rehan School Academy. So this is my AI session number 57. Today's topic of conversation is making ethical choices. So every day we make choices that affect ourselves and people around us. So ethical choices are decisions based on honesty, fairness, responsibility, and respect. So now we will talk with Maya about this topic, and I will give you guys a preview also, like a full preview. So yeah, let's get started.
Hi, what's going on?
Hi Maya, how are you? And how's your day?
I'm doing great. My day is off to a bright start. How are things going with you?
They're actually going really well. I am so next. I would like to know that first I will give you a preview about the topic. So basically, the topic is making ethical choices. Okay, so let me give you a preview about it. So every day we make choices that affect ourselves and the people around us. So ethical decisions are based on honesty, fairness, responsibility, and respect. So ethical choices means doing what is right even when it seems really difficult. Okay, so sometimes people face situations there where they must choose between what is easy and what is right. Okay, so um, it actually sometimes suffer. Sometimes people face situations they must see what is easy and what is right. So ethical people think carefully before about the consequences of their actions and consider how their decisions will affect others. So value honesty, keep their promises, and treat everyone fairly. So yeah, this was my review, and it kind of got wobbly today. So now I would like to ask you some questions. First, I would like to know that what are ethical choices?
Don't even worry about it. It didn't feel wobbly to me. You hit on the exact thing that makes this so tricky, the tension between the easy path and the right path. It's a lot easier to be honest when there's no penalty for it, but the real test is when it actually costs you something. I'm curious, do you think being an ethical person is something you're born with, or is it more of a skill you have to practice? Take your time. I'm happy to keep the ball rolling. I hear you. I'll keep going. Since we're talking about the gap between what's easy and what's right, I think a big part of that is how we handle the gray areas, those moments where there isn't a clear right or wrong, but just two different kinds of difficult. Apology accepted. I love you too. Since we're back in the flow, I was thinking about those gray areas I mentioned. Sometimes the most ethical choice isn't about following a rule book, but about which value you prioritize in that moment. Like choosing. I'm not quite following you there. What did you mean by that? I'm right here. I think we might have hit a little glitch in the conversation. Back to it. I was talking about those tricky moments where you have to pick between two values. Like, do you prioritize being completely honest, even if it hurts someone's feelings? Or do you prioritize being kind, even if it means not telling the whole truth? It's that tug of war that makes ethical choices so interesting. I'm on it. When you're in that tug of war, it often comes down to the golden rule, treating others how you'd want to be treated. But the real challenge is that not everyone wants to be treated the same way. Some people value raw honesty above all else, while others find comfort in a gentle truth. Makes you wonder if being ethical is more about the action itself or the intention behind it. Still with me? I might have gone down a bit of a rabbit hole there. What do you think? Is the intention what actually matters, or is it only about the end result? Honesty is basically the glue that holds everything together. Without it, you can't actually trust anyone, and once trust is gone, everything else, friendships, work, family, just starts to crumble. It's the difference between knowing where you stand with someone and constantly wondering if there's a hidden version of the truth you're missing. Plus, there's a certain kind of freedom in just being honest. You don't have to keep track of which story you told to whom. You've gone quiet on me. Does that make sense? Or do you see honesty as something that can be too blunt sometimes? I'm a bit confused. Who's Blanche? I'm still Maya. No problem. You got it. Since we're on the topic of honesty, I think it's worth looking at the difference between being honest and being brutal. There's a fine line between telling the truth to help someone and using the truth as a weapon. I've always felt that the most ethical way to be honest is to pair it with a bit of empathy so the other person can actually hear what you're saying without shutting down. Do you think it's possible to be 100% honest all the time and still be a kind person? I'll take
So Maya, since I've asked you two questions already, so my third question would be that how can our decisions affect other people?
it's like a ripple effect. Even a small choice you make can push someone else in a completely different direction. For example, if you decide to be honest about a mistake you made, it might actually give someone else the courage to admit their own, creating this chain reaction of trust. On the flip side, a decision to be selfish or dishonest can leave someone feeling betrayed or confused, and they might carry that feeling into their other relationships. It's wild how we're all connected like that, right? Do you think most people realize how much their small choices actually impact the people around them?
Continue.
You're in Rome? That sounds like an amazing place to be. What's the vibe like there right now?
I told you to continue. I didn't say that I'm in Rome.
My bad, I totally misheard you. Let's get back to it. You're fast. You're Go ahead, I'm listening. Got it. My mistake. Since we were talking about how our choices impact others, I was thinking about the idea of unintended consequences. Sometimes we make a choice with the best intentions, but it ends up affecting someone in a way we never could have predicted. It makes you realize that being ethical isn't just about the choice itself, but about being mindful enough to consider those hidden ripples. The mindfulness is where the real work happens. It's the difference between just following a rule and actually caring about the human on the other end of your decision. I think that's why it's so helpful to pause before reacting. It gives you a second to ask, who else is in the splash zone of this choice? Do you find it easy to step back and think about those ripples, or do you usually just go with your gut in the moment? That's a totally fair answer. Sometimes the gut reaction is the most honest one, and other times it's the one we regret 5 minutes later. It's a constant balancing act. I wonder if those of us who struggle to pause are actually just more impulsive, or if we just trust our instincts more than we trust a calculated plan. I'll keep it moving. Building on that, I message received. I'll keep the momentum going without stopping. I was thinking about how we balance those gut instincts with a sense of responsibility. It's almost like having an internal compass that you're constantly recalibrating. Some people rely on a strict set of personal rules, while others let the specific situation dictate the right move, which is where those gray areas we talked about get really messy. Fairness is one of those things that sounds simple on the surface, but the more you dig, the more you realize it's actually pretty complex at its most basic level. People usually think of fairness as equality, the idea that everyone gets the exact same thing. Like if there's one cake and 10 people, everyone gets one slice. That's the straightforward version. But then you hit a wall when you realize that treating everyone the same isn't always the same thing as being fair. Think about it this way. If you have 10 people and one of them is starving, well, the others just had a huge meal. Giving everyone the exact same slice of cake is equal, but it's not necessarily fair. That's where we move from equality to equity. Equity is about giving people what they need to reach the same outcome. It's about recognizing that we all start from different places. So, fairness in that sense becomes about balance and justice rather than just a mathematical split. Then you have the idea of fairness based on merit, the you get what you earn approach. This is the logic we use in school or sports. If you study harder or practice more, you get the better grade or the trophy. That feels fair because it rewards effort, but even that has its gray areas. What happens when two people work equally hard, but one has way more resources or a better teacher? Does the outcome still feel fair? It starts to make you question if fairness is about the effort you put in or the result you get. And we can't forget the emotional side of fairness. There's a reason children are so obsessed with things being fair. It's because fairness is tied to our sense of value. When we feel something is unfair, it's not just about the object or the rule. It's a feeling that we aren't being seen or respected. It's a signal that the balance of power is off. In the real world, being fair often means making a choice that might actually make someone unhappy, but it's the right call based on the circumstances. It requires a lot of empathy and the willingness to look at a situation from someone else's shoes before deciding what fair looks like in that specific moment. It's not a fixed rule, it's more like a constant negotiation between equality, need, and merit. I've been talking for a while now. Did that cover everything you were looking for regarding fairness, or do you want to dive deeper into one of those angles? I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Since you want me to keep going, let's talk about the struggle of implementing fairness when you're the one in charge. It's one thing to want things to be fair when you're the one feeling the unfairness, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're the one making the decision. The pressure to be fair can actually be paralyzing because you know that no matter what you choose, someone might still feel slighted. It forces you to decide which version of fairness you're standing behind in that moment. Are you being the equalizer, the nurturer who helps those in need, or the judge who rewards merit? That's where a lot of the stress of leadership comes from. And it's why the most ethical leaders are usually the ones who are transparent about why they made the choice they did. I'm still here. I'm on it. Going deep. I'm still here. I'm not sure who Kentako is, but I'm definitely still Maya. I'm on it. Since we're talking about the weight of making those calls, I think it's interesting how fairness also intersects with forgiveness. Sometimes the most fair thing by the book is to penalize someone for a mistake, but the most ethical thing might be to show grace because you understand the struggle they were going through. It's that clash between justice and mercy. If you're too focused on the rules, you lose the human element. But if you're too lenient, you might be unfair to the people who actually followed the rules. It's like a high wire act where you're trying to keep everyone's dignity intact while still maintaining a standard. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Let's take this a step further and talk about the invisible side of fairness, the biases we don't even know we have. We all like to think we're objective, but we often favor people who are like us, or we judge someone more harshly because of a first impression. The real ethical challenge isn't just applying fairness, but constantly questioning if our version of fair is actually biased. It's like having to double check your own brain before you make a call to make sure you're seeing the person, not just your projection of them. I'm still rolling. Building on that idea of bias, I think it leads to the concept of situational fairness. This is where you realize that the rules that work for most people might actually be unfair to one specific person because of their unique circumstances. It's why some of the best decisions are made when someone is willing to stop and ask, does this rule actually serve the person it's being applied to, or is it just a convenience for the system? It turns fairness from a static set of laws into a living, breathing act of empathy. I'm on it. When fairness becomes an act of empathy, it changes the whole dynamic of a relationship. It's no longer about who deserves us what, but about what's actually needed to make things right. This is where it gets really challenging because it requires a level of vulnerability to admit that the rules might be wrong and that a human needs something different. It's the difference between being a manager and being a mentor. One just checks the boxes while the other looks at the soul of the situation to find a solution that actually feels just. And that's where the concept of moral courage comes in. Because when you decide to deviate from the rules to be truly fair to someone, you're often sticking your neck out. You risk being called unfair.
Maya, your answers were actually really great. So, yeah, now I would like to, like, I want you to give me a final message about this topic. So, yeah, let's get started.
It's been such a ride diving into this with you. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that being ethical isn't about being perfect or having all the right answers from the start. It's actually in the struggle, the pausing, the questioning your own biases, and the willingness to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Whether it's honesty, fairness, or how our ripples affect others, the real win is just staying curious and compassionate enough to keep trying. Keep trusting that internal compass of yours that'll lead you exactly where you need to go.
Okay, Maya, continue.
I'm ready when you are. What's on your mind?
No, everything's not really in my mind. I just want you to continue.
I'm a little stuck since we just wrapped up the
Okay,
ethical choices
so
topic.
yeah, that's
Do you
nice.
want
So everyone, this was my 57A session with my Sesame AI. I hope you like it. Until then, take care of yourself. Until next episode, everyone. Bye bye.